This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Ever wondered how you could turn your side hustle into a full-time gig and spend more time together?
Hi, I'm Vikki, a #1 best-selling author.
And I'm John, a retired Los Angeles police officer. Welcome to Dig the Well, where we help couples navigate the world of business.
We've been married for 35 years, and because we built a successful side business, John retired 9 years earlier than he originally planned from the Los Angeles Police Department after 25 years on the job. Now we spend more time together, and we want to help couples like you do the same.
Join us as we help you overcome common obstacles, and we show you how to make extra income without sacrificing family time.
Ready to dig deep and build your well? Let's get started. Welcome back to Dig the Well.
The next episode of Dig the Well.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun one. We did some research and we asked Chatgpt, actually, what the top 7 trending topics that entrepreneurs want to know about. And we got those for you today.
Yeah, interestingly, too, the 7 things really applies to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really
absolutely.
cool. All 7 of them.
Yeah, all 7. So
I guess the key there is, we'll go over each one of them, obviously. But if you're already involved in something that kind of ticks all the boxes, or if you find something that ticks all the boxes, then you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
So stick with it and be consistent. Don't give up.
If you haven't found it, we'll help you with this, because it's just amazing.
Yeah. So these are the 7 trending topics that are going on right now in most entrepreneurs' minds. So number 1, you're probably thinking, what could that be? And the number 1 topic is AI. And I'm sure you've seen a ton of advertising about it. Everybody's now an expert on AI. I'm seeing it. I have friends that actually have been teaching AI for years, and it's funny. Now all these other people are popping up teaching people about AI, and I just trust the ones that I know that have been doing it for years. So, but this episode is a big not reason, but we actually used AI, like I said at the top of it, used Chatgpt to come up with some topics that we knew would be interesting to you all. So, and actually, the main thing that Chatgpt said was AI for solopreneurship. Specifically. So not if you have a bunch of business partners and you're starting a business with a group, it's really the solo entrepreneur wants to know more about AI, how they can, do more with AI. So
Sure.
I know you've used it too.
Yeah, because it actually allows one person or just a few people to do the jobs of so many, because AI is actually handling that for them. And it's interesting too, if you follow the world trend toward AI, and it's basically, we're all in a race for AI technology. And there's a lot of talk about China right now, more or less being the leader in AI, which is kind of scary if you look at world politics and whatnot, because we don't want China to be that powerful because of their ambition, their kind of ambitious nature, so to speak. So there's a big race for the United States to really develop AI, and as they develop this new technology, we're going to benefit from it, right? It's just like when you think about the space program, by sending people to the moon. What did that do for us? It brought in a ton of new technology that we're all enjoying. Look at our personal computer. Everybody has a personal computer, right?
Right.
A lot of our computers, a lot of that technology came out of the space program, because obviously their equipment's run by computers. So anyways, I think we're gonna have a huge jump in AI technology that's going to help us all. So if you're, like you were saying, Vic, a solopreneur, or if you're like, for us, it's us. Like, the dog's kind of a help, but not much.
He's entertainment.
Yeah, you're right. It keeps us sane. But it's mostly us. So now we can also lean on AI to help do some of the other tasks that we would normally do and take up so much of our time. It frees our time up to actually grow and build our business and do the things that are move the needle, I guess,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you are on social media and you're using that as your platform to share your business, AI is perfect for that. I use it all the time. I put in there what I want to say, and I ask AI to make me sound more eloquent. Because when you're typing something out, sometimes it sounds great and sometimes it doesn't. And so when it doesn't, I ask AI to polish it up a little bit. It's still my words. It's still my whole thought process, but just getting a little help. And that's amazing. Yeah. Even, I do some speaking. We both do some speaking gigs. And when they ask for a bio, I've got what I have come up with for the two of us. But if it's a specific group, say it's a realtor association, and we've been asked to speak on entrepreneurship, I'll plug in our bio, a regular bio, but I say, could you please tweak this, Mr. Chatgpt, to whatever, to XYZ Realty Association. And then guess what? It goes and and searches everywhere and learns about that association and what their, pain points and hot buttons are, and says all the right things that would be great in a bio coming from us. So, I mean, it's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
I've had people say, we've talked about this on another episode, that it's like the Antichrist, right? There are some people that have said that, but I feel like you do need to be careful what you put in it, right? Don't put personal information into, any type of AI, whatever you're using. You don't want your personal information out there, but like you've always said, our information's out there. So it's not finding anything new or strange or different about you if you're not giving it up, if you're not putting it out there. So just be careful, right? Have you heard any other people, knocking AI in any way?
No, other than the fact that I know a lot of folks think, and probably rightfully so, there's going to be some jobs lost due to AI. They're going to, if you think about what you had just mentioned about writing your own bio for like an intro, or like folks that need resumes written. So there are people who that are good with, they're very articulate, and they could write those things for you. Well, now it's being replaced by a computer generated version of it, so they're out of work in that regard.
Right.
So I think there's some creatives that'll be out of work. Like for instance, for my screensaver on my Surface computer, I asked AI just to give me a generated image of our two dogs. Right, the dog that passed away last year, or year before last now, the dog that just passed away, the Akita.
Kuma.
Yeah, Kuma, the Akita, and then the dog we have now currently, which is our daughter's dog, who's rooming here with us.
Tank.
Yeah, which is a Shiba Inu, white Shiba Inu. So I asked just to create this image of a Akita, black and brown brindled Akita, and a white Shiba Inu walking through an old Japanese village. It's like they knew exactly what the two dogs look like.
Right. It is crazy.
Right. And I shared that with our family, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I told them how it was done. I just asked AI to do that one time, and they produced that image. And I had to, hey, I have them walking through a different village. And sure enough, there's just a different village. They're walking down the street, and it's an old dirt road village. Really cool. And how it knew what our dogs look like. Because,
yeah, there's a chance. Like, is yours, do you have it saved to who you are a little bit? Have you plugged in some? Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I've been taking a lot of courses on AI, and I have a Chatgpt where I paid extra and it remembers who I am. So I was going to say, it could have searched your Facebook and seen that picture of Kuma and Tank as your profile picture. I mean, there's a chance.
It could have, but I don't think so, because that's no longer the profile picture. I don't even know that picture's still. Well, I'm sure it's probably somewhere in
out there.
But this was just AI. This is the first time I ever used this version of AI. It was Copilot that comes with Microsoft Surface devices.
Yeah.
And that I'd never used it was either Gemini or
there's so
I can't
many.
remember which one it was, but it was whichever one it was the first time I had ever used it, and it popped that thing out in seconds.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I didn't tell you yet, I haven't showed it to you. I guess there's these action figures that are all the rage right now. And because ChatGPT just got an update where it's always done images, or has. Maybe not always, but it does images. It just had an update. Well, people are making action figures, and I have to show you. Did I show you?
You did.
Okay, I did show. It's a police wife, and it shows then 3 little things, gadgets that come with being a police wife. So one was my book, Police Wife Survival Guide. It just put it in there. ChatGPT knew. How crazy.
Yeah.
It put a cell phone and something John would have texted me, and then a coffee mug. But yeah, AI, it's super fun too. That's the other thing. So if you haven't really checked into it and played around with it, just do, and back to people losing their jobs. I just think the people that are worried about losing their jobs, like a copywriter, for example, or like you said, somebody that might write resumes for people, they should actually lean into AI and use it to their benefit to still do what they do, but up leveled. Personally, that's what I think they should do. Don't give up on your industry. Just use it to your benefit. Yeah. So cool.
All right, we beat that one up.
Yeah, we did. Okay. You want to tell everybody number 2?
No, you came up with these.
Okay. I'm going to do number 2, sustainable business practices, right? And so I'm pretty proud of our company. Like John said at the top of this, we tick all these 7 boxes that we're going to be sharing with you. And we didn't pick this on purpose. Like we put it in ChatGPT, it spit out these 7 things, and we're like, wow, our business, our company does all this. And one of those is that we're all about sustainability. We're all about trying to be as green as possible. Like our boxes with a lot of our products have the instructions printed on the inside of the paper box, and we use paper box, and that way there is no extra paper being used. Some of our products do have a paper insert, and like John pointed out, I asked him, why is that? How come we don't do all? And he said, I bet there's some regulations, from the government or what have you, that there has to be a separate insert. So that would be the only reason. But, look into businesses that are forward thinking in the same sustainability factor. I know also sustainable are ingredients. We do the best we can to source our ingredients from sustainable plants and actually farms, sustainable farms. So with that, that's their focus. Can you think of anything else on that?
No, I was just going to say that it's not only the right thing to do, but even if you personally don't really care that much, you're not you figure like, hey, I'm not a tree hugger. I'm not really that concerned about whether there's a paper insert in that box or whether it's printed on the box. But think about it. If you're building a business, you want to appeal to as many people as possible. And there are going to be people that would be maybe turned away from your business if it wasn't a sustainable one.
Right.
So I think it's important, not just from your own point of view, but look at it from another's, someone else's perspective, that it may be important to them that your company, your product, what you're offering them is also environmentally friendly and sustainable, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And if you're looking for packaging, say you have a product and you need a great packaging company, it just came to mind as you were sharing all that. I have 2 really good business friends that are women owned. It's kind of cool. And I know they have a focus on sustainability. So reach out to me in the show notes, get my emails if you're kind of curious about that, if you need a good packaging person. But yeah, really, really cool that's number 2.
That brings up another interesting thing. We've been talking, there's so much talk about, men and women sports, and are there really any differences between men and women? I've actually heard people say that there are no differences, that women are just as strong, just as big as men. And it's kind of weird because there are a lot of differences between men and women.
Yeah, it's a fact.
But one of the things I've noticed is that I think that's another area that women are more concerned with is sustainability and the impact of what we do as human beings on the planet Earth, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So that's another thing if you're a man and you're in a business or you're looking at a business that caters mostly to women, and you may not care about sustainability, you better, because I think there are a lot of women who do care.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. And you want to be open to all people, right? Yeah.
Right.
So your wider net for sure.
Yep.
All right, number 3. I guess that's me again. John will tackle some of the other ones.
I'm adding a little bit here and there.
It's funny. We talked about before going over these 7 tips, and some are my forte and some are John's. So 7 is the social media commerce boom, or just social commerce boom, as it is put here. It's all about how social media and e-commerce are connecting in a huge way. And you see that if you're on social media, you see friends sharing about their business. Yes, they share about their personal life, but they're also talking about their business. Maybe it's a graphic design business. Maybe it is a laser cutting wood business that's really cool. Whatever the business is, you're seeing it all over Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, big time, if you have something to sell. And so wouldn't it be smart to not just keep poo-pooing social media, but instead integrate that in your marketing plan? Wouldn't it be smart? And the answer is
Yes, it would be smart.
yes, because that is the wave of the future. People, it goes back to even our brick and mortar days with Prestige, because we talked about that before, that we paid for advertising on TV. We paid for commercials. We paid to be in print ads, and we polled our customers, and we found out it was word of mouth that brought more people than anything else. Yeah.
By far.
Right.
By far.
So that's what social media is. It is word of mouth. It is a friend sharing about a product or service that they use, or it could be their business, getting the word out, and it's your friend. Wouldn't you want to buy from your friend? That always cracks me up too, when some people do buy from their friends and other people like run away from their friends. And I've never understood that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's, if you trust your friend, put the jealousy aside. We've talked about that, the crabs in a bucket, on a previous episode too. Put the jealousy aside that they're doing well, and maybe you recognize that they're doing well and seek out information on what they're doing and buy from them. I would much rather buy from a mom and pop, husband, wife, single husband, single man, single wife, a single woman, and then a big box chain any day.
Yeah, right. Why do I want to help the Waltons out anymore?
Yeah.
And it's funny because we've bought things that we don't need, or really sometimes we don't even want, but it's because our friends, someone we know, and that's their business, and so we're like, you know what, we're gonna help you, we're gonna support your business.
Yeah.
It may not be, it wouldn't have been my first choice, but you know what? Let's go ahead and help you out.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't understand what that. Yeah, it's weird to me that friends and family, right?
Family too.
Family's the really big one. But like they say, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family.
Yeah.
But it's true. We found so many people, not just us personally, but so many people in our business have the hardest time struggling with getting their family to get on board.
Yeah.
And even support them.
Even just to buy a product or a service.
Yeah. It's almost like they're like anti-supportive. Like they actually don't want to help them at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I thought family was supposed to support each other.
Anyway, sorry if some of you have that kind of family, but we do.
And I do want to.
I do.
Yeah, me too. I want to bring up that story of my grandmother, and back at Prestige Motoring Accessories. If you're new to the show and you haven't heard us talk about it, it was an automotive accessory, window tint, car stereo alarm, all aftermarket, high-end company that we owned right out of college. And my grandmother, who was married to a man, well, it was their delicatessen, but he ran it. They had immigrated from Denmark to Brooklyn, New York, and started their own delicatessen. So she was business minded. She understood, purchasing a product or to support, just a pat on the back. A purchase of a product or service from a friend is really just like an attaboy, keep going. And that's what she did. She bought where none of our other family members or friends bought a thing from us. And so,
it's funny, and it, unless they needed it, right? Unless they needed something, and then they expect like us to do it for nothing for them, for free.
They wanted a deal.
Yeah, it was worse than a deal.
Yeah, that's shocking too.
I'm not going to say name. I'm not going to mention her name. But anyways.
So support your friends in business. And back to e-commerce, get over the fact that you've got to learn something new. Just learn it. Spend some time, learn a little bit, or hire a VA, hire a social media person to run your social media for you. There's excellent ones out there. I've got great ones to recommend too on that. But
and I'm sorry.
It's the wave of the future is all I was like
Yeah.
wrapping up there.
I was going to say you were just saying that, even if you're not unfamiliar with something, just learn it, do all that. That's a point that I think so many people that are they claim they're entrepreneurs, they claim they're business owners, yet they don't want to do the things that true entrepreneurs and business owners do. And you're shortchanging yourself if you don't try and learn something new, because that's the whole point of owning a business, or it's one of the many points of owning your own business is it pushes you out of your comfort zone. It forces you out of that comfort zone. So you have to learn new things. You have to figure things out on your own and how to do them and how to complete them. That's the beauty of having your own business, because once you've done that, you get this huge sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
You don't get that going to your job, for most people at least. You don't get that going to a 9-to-5 job, working for someone else. You're told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And you're like a robot. You're a drone for the most part, not everyone. But when you own your own business, you're figuring things out on the fly. You're making things work. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Don't shortchange yourself and not want to learn that. Learn to do new things, embrace these new things that you've never seen before. Because once you start getting out of that comfort zone, that's when the real magic happens.
It is. Yeah.
And you got to get out of it. So business ownership forces you out of that if you want to survive, right? If you want to be successful and survive, you're going to be forced out of your comfort zone. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. Embrace it. That's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Number 4.
Okay, building a community around your brand. Right? Did I get that?
Yeah, that's right.
That's one thing that I've noticed about what we do, right? And we've talked about it before. We keep going back to that, but it's so true that, like Vic said, it ticks every box of the 7 that we're talking about today. And part of it is building a community, right? And I remember the CEO was always saying that we're going to build a community, and it was so important to have this community, and
From day one.
Yeah, from day one. And we've noticed that it's exactly what's happened. And by building this community, we attract the people we want to be a part of this community, whether we know it or not, or whether we overtly go out and try and I guess show folks that we're about this community. They see it, right?
Yeah.
You can't miss it. It's a community, right, of like-minded people. With
Quality, ethical.
Right.
Yeah.
And you repel the people who aren't of good character and the people you don't want. And because they're uncomfortable around you. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the big egos. There was a time we had a lot of big egos in our company, and they're gone. We repelled them and we're like, stay away. No big egos.
Which is good. It kind of we kind of thin the herd that way.
Yeah.
Right. And it's nice because we don't have to try and make a decision on someone. They just aren't comfortable. Like thieves aren't comfortable around policemen.
That's such
right?
A good
They're
statement.
not going to go hang out at a cop bar.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We don't want them at our bars, right? That we're hanging out at.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, this community is amazing. The community that we're a part of. And we're just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. And that's cool that it's like one of the big trends that entrepreneurs are looking entrepreneurs. What was that? Entrepreneurs are looking at when they're starting their business. They want to build community, and they want to know how important that is. So very, very cool. Yeah. And actually, I did want to touch on one thing there. When it comes to social media, when you're on, especially on Instagram, it's crazy. You go on there and you'll get messages from, bots. Probably they're probably bots, a lot of them, but some are, fake people on there, and they're pitching that they're going to help you get all these followers. But what it is, it's fake followers, and they'll tell you, you pay me, $20 and I'll get you 10,000 followers, and then you can pay me more to get you more. So it looks good, right? When people go to your social media, they see all these followers. Well, guys, if you don't know this, there are insights and reports like crazy where anybody can find out if you have fake followers or not. So stop doing that. You don't want fake followers. You would rather, in my opinion, I'd rather have less followers, but ones that engage, that are my community of people that get me. And if they don't get me, they don't have to follow me, right? But you don't want a bunch of fake followers. So I wanted to throw that in because you're building a real community of of cheerleaders for you. And so you want them to be real and not fake. So we also had Dig the Well podcast. We've had so many people reach out from YouTube and say, hey, we'll help you boost your subscribers, right? Like create, I've talked to you about that. And it's like, no, I'd rather have us do it organically. So that's a tip. Please do comment. Please do share our message with friends, share this podcast with friends. If they like it, they can subscribe and join our community here at Dig the Well. We're all about you, the entrepreneur, and helping you grow. So that's a plug for that in the middle there. All right, number 5. Do you want to hit on that one?
No, I think you're going to do this one.
Oh, I am. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
So number 5 on our top 7 list is generational entrepreneurship. And this really tugs at both of our hearts for sure, because like I said, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. Actually, John, your side of the family in Japan, we should talk about that. Japanese people are entrepreneurs big time. Like your grandmother, wasn't it your grandmother or great grandmother that owned that coffee shop that you actually went to?
My aunt.
Your aunt. Okay. Yeah. So
like when we've gone, I don't know how many of y'all have been to Japan, but every time we've gone, we always say, oh yeah, we went to all these little mom and pop places to eat, and that's all there is out there, right?
So
the only like recognizable chains, or there are only restaurants that are chains, they're American, right? There's McDonald's, there's KFC. KFC is really popular in Japan.
I know. I don't know why.
I don't know if they don't have a lot of chicken there or what the deal is, but man, Yardbird is like the thing. But it's mostly those chain, like Burger Kings, I think were there. Yeah. There's all those chains, and some of the stuff that you used to see in the US that were like huge out here have kind of faded away, and you think, gosh, are they still in business?
Yeah.
In Japan, they're all over the place.
Right.
And there are other countries too, but that's the thing. And then, you're not getting authentic food. It's weird how it tastes the same though.
It is weird. I don't know. It must be all the spices.
McDonald's. We went to McDonald's. We were in a hurry one time. We were going to a speaking engagement in Fukuoka, and we'd gotten off the train and we were rushing to get over to the place. And there was a bunch of us, remember?
Yeah.
In this group. And then you and I figured, hey, we needed to eat. So we stopped and at a McDonald's of all things, right? And we ordered like a quarter pounder with cheese, whatever the heck it was. And I thought, okay, let's see what this is going to be like. It's probably going to be like a fishy quarter pounder with cheese. It tasted the same exactly.
It was. And we were looking at each other. This is weird being in a total different country.
The one thing that's weird though, if you go to a pizza place, we went to a Pizza Hut and we ordered pizza, and Vic loves onions, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I've gotten to like onions more lately.
Yay!
That's kind of weird. But anyway, so we ordered, and Vic ordered the pizza with onions. And it had, remember the onion? We had long slices of onion on it. It was the weirdest thing.
That was weird.
It wasn't diced, and it wasn't small little slices. They were like, they used a massive onion, I guess, and just cut it. So there was like long crescent shaped things of onions.
So clearly they didn't have a good system the way McDonald's does of teaching franchisees how to do the recipe.
Anyway, not, right? But anywho, what were we talking about?
We were talking about generational entrepreneurship and how your aunt.
Oh, that's right.
Your aunt had a coffee shop, but you were talking about how
everybody owns businesses out there, little business, and they're tiny. I mean, you walk into a little place to eat, and there's maybe 2 tables.
Yeah. How about those sushi places where there was like a shack on the side of the street? There's a bunch of shacks in a row, and they all have curtains, and you don't know which one to go into. And I'm also wondering what's going on in there. Yeah. You can see a sign for food. So we would go in, and every place we went to was great food.
Mm-hmm. And it's all family run. It's like dad and son are behind the counter. Mom's in there working. This,
really cool.
The little sister's out there doing whatever she's doing. I mean, the whole family's in these, or at the restaurant, the little bars that we went to, just wherever. It was all family run little businesses. I think the way the U.S. used to be way back when,
right?
Before these mega corporations, like even think about Walmart, right? They put so many mom and pop businesses in the area that they open a Walmart. They put them out of business. They
it's a shame.
Crush them.
And yet still America we have more small business owners than anything.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love it when they do, like, I think it's Small Business Saturday.
Yeah.
And also American Express was doing it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were promoting a lot of small businesses, and they were, if you use your American Express card at these small businesses, you would get a little something for it, and I think you earned a few extra membership rewards points. But the small business would get something from it, right? It was like free advertising for the small businesses and kind of encouraging people to go and patronize these small businesses. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Like there are oftentimes we spend a little more money to buy something from a local business rather than ordering it on Amazon. I mean, if I don't,
Yes.
right. If I don't need
Absolutely.
it, like sometimes Amazon delivers it later in the afternoon, the same day we order it. But if I'm not in a big rush, I'll just drive to the local store and just pay a little bit more and buy it from there.
Like
Right?
honestly, like Ace Hardware, I like way better than Home Depot. Ace Hardware, you could tell it's a franchisee and has a family, and he's sometimes employing his family members. That's what it reminds me of.
But
Yeah.
the other great thing is there's so much. I know Home Depot hires people that like a lot of times they'll hire like a retired plumbers. Like when I've asked for help over at
Yeah.
Home Depot, I always look for the old guy, right? Because generally speaking, they're a tradesman and they're retired and now they're working because they probably they don't have a lot socked away for their retirement, so they have to go
Right.
back to work. I'm sure they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart.
They should have a side gig.
Right. And to them, that's their side gig, get a job over at
Yeah.
Home Depot, but they put their knowledge to good use. And sometimes I've talked to some of those old guys and asked them, hey, I'm doing this project. And they're more than happy to sit and help you. And then it's like, wow, you really know what you're doing. And he's like, oh, yeah, kid, I did this for 35 years. And I'm like, I can tell. Right.
Yeah.
But what I've also noticed about Ace Hardware is they're all like that.
Yeah.
Everyone you talk to someone, they know exactly where to find what it is that I need. They'll tell me where to go, where to find it, and then they'll say, "Hey, have you thought about doing it this way? Have you thought about using this instead?"
Right.
And I was like, "Wow, no, I didn't." But thank you for the.
Hey, I had a thought.
I don't get that from Amazon.
Yeah. We generally are just telling you, our thought process and our belief system here on our podcast. But I was just thinking we should get Ace Hardware to be one of our sponsors just after that. But really, yeah. But back to generational entrepreneurship. That's really what we're talking about. And so you had a family of entrepreneurs, even though you said to me, at one point, my dad, worked for the railroad. No, not necessarily. My mom worked at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
But actually, your aunts and some relatives were entrepreneurs.
Yeah, my mom's side,
Yeah.
for sure. My dad's side, I can't think of anyone that was an entrepreneur on my dad's side of the family. Although my dad was very supportive. I mean, he's the one who encouraged me when I was in high school to start something.
Yeah, that's
Run
true.
it from the garage, which I did.
Maybe he realized, I wished I had. And so that's maybe why he was encouraging.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
it's interesting because now that I think about it, one of the things he said was because if you don't start one now, he said you're going to get later in life. And we're talking about conventional businesses, right?
Right.
Not like what we have now. Now there's nothing to stop anyone, right?
Right.
But back then, we're talking only a conventional, like a brick and mortar type business. Where you couldn't have a side gig. It wasn't a side hustle. That was
The
your
hustle.
chosen career, right?
Yeah.
And he was telling me that if you don't start it now, he said, you'll never start it. You'll never take that risk because you're going to have a family, you're going to have obligations, and you're going to need just a
steady
job.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're never going to be able to start your business. Thank goodness things have changed that,
right.
You can have your job, right, that you're doing 40 to 80 hours a week because some people, their jobs really take a lot of time and effort, but you can still have a side hustle.
Right. And you should definitely.
Absolutely.
And that's going to lead into to number 6, but just to finish off number 5, generational entrepreneurship, talk to millennials, talk to Gen Z. They do not want to have that 40-year job to get 40 years of a paycheck that they can't make it on, to then have the retirement that they can't make it on.
Yeah, and then go work at Home Depot.
Right.
Sorry, Home Depot.
Yeah. They are entrepreneurs. They see the value of doing multiple things, having multiple streams of income. So that's going to lead right into number 6. Multiple.
Yeah. Which we covered on another podcast, really.
We did.
And I'll tell you, it is not just something smart to do, something that you should do. It is absolutely essential. Very few people can make it on. Sorry, I have to.
Oh, we can't hear it. It's okay. There was a cute little tune being played.
Yeah. what I was saying is that you have to have multiple streams of income. I don't understand how anyone could make it on a single income, back I guess in the 40s and 50s it wasn't such a big deal because I remember like for my family, my dad was the only income earner for the longest time. The only reason why my mom finally got a job, and wasn't until I think my sister and I were either in junior high or maybe even high school, was just she was kind of bored, I think, because we weren't home. My sister and I weren't home very much. We were out with our friends, we were at school. Then after
Gen
school,
X, we're always roaming
always
around.
involved in some sort of sports, something, and we're out and about.
Right. Without your parents. That was the day. You rode your bike everywhere. Right?
Yeah. I wasn't inviting my mom over to hang out with my buddies and I after school.
Yeah.
So I think she was just probably really bored because my dad was at work until the evening. And then so she thought, well, you know what, I'll get a job. So she was working lunch at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then that turned into, then she got greedy, right? She got greedy.
Why? What? How did she get greedy?
Because she's making money on tips and whatnot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what he was getting at.
Yeah, she had her own spending money, and so then she worked. She was working nights too, working dinner. But anyways, I digress.
Multiple streams.
You got to have multiple streams of income. Back the days of like what my mom and dad could do on just my dad's income, I think are long gone.
My parents were the same. It was only my dad's income.
Yeah. And the thing is, the more streams of income, the better. It's like filling a pool. Like we've had to drain our pool before and we had to fill it with a garden hose.
Yeah.
And there's also a line that runs directly into it. But again, it comes out of a tiny little pipe and it's only filling it at so much. And it takes hours, right? Hours, most of the day, in fact, I think. And so what I did was I ran a couple of hoses out there we have a couple of hose bibs in the backyard. And I fired them all up with all these garden hoses. And the second time we had to fill it, and it filled up in really quickly. You could actually see the water rising in it. So it's just, could you imagine if that's your bank account, right?
Yeah.
You want to fill that bank account. The more sources of income, the more streams of income you have going into that account, it's going to start filling up a lot faster, or at least it won't drain as fast.
Yeah. So what tips do we have for everybody? I was thinking about that on minimizing risk, but having multiple streams. Let's give them some good tips.
Well, if you're looking at like at a side hustle kind of
to have multiple streams.
Yeah. Right. So one of the things that I think Vic and we haven't even talked about this before, but I think we're against are those businesses that have high startup costs, right? That are kind of front loaded. And
what's high to you? Like $5,000, $10,000? That's not even that much money, but that is a lot.
Yeah, especially if it costs that. If that's basically almost like a fee to get involved. Don't like that at all.
Right.
I mean, it shouldn't be like that. And if you're considering something like that, I would strongly suggest that you look at your options. Because,
reach out to us for counsel. Seriously.
Yeah, please do, because a lot of that business model where it has a lot of high upfront costs, that business model is basically a recruiting model.
Right. It's also archaic.
But there's still a lot of businesses that are still set that way. Their compensation plans are set in such a fashion that it's just a high recruiting model. It's not actual sponsoring anyone. It's not actually helping people to build their business and grow their businesses and be successful, because there's really no incentive to do that. The incentive is to get them to sign on and get them involved because of that high upfront cost. And then after that, there's not much there. Where what we do, it's just the opposite. There's very low upfront startup costs. So we're incentivized by helping grow their business and helping them be successful. And when we do, then our commissions from the company become greater.
And we actually have them help them have actual customers, because in the models that you're talking about, it's like
recruiting,
recruit these business owners, but nobody's getting customers. So how is that a business?
Yeah, and if you're in a business like that, I'm going to say your days are numbered, because the Federal Trade Commission is going to be knocking on that company's door at some point, because they do not believe in any type of recruiting business. It has to be a customer-based business.
Right.
And what's happening
recruiting only, though. Let's clarify.
Recruiting only is what I mean. Yeah. Right. And what's going to happen is these companies that are mostly just recruiting only, and they don't have a customer model built onto that, they can't pivot and they can't adjust to this. And so they're going to have, the only way they're going to comply is by cutting out their compensation plan.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah,
And
scary.
it's already happened to numerous. We've got a list of companies that have done exactly that. They've changed their compensation plan, cut out the people that actually help build their business, make their
Right.
business viable. Now they've been cut out of that compensation plan. It's a shame.
Do we want to talk about photography, businesses like that? Do we want to talk about anything like that? What do you think? Because
Yeah. Another thing you want to look at if you're looking at another stream of income is hopefully you can find a stream of income that provides passive residual income. Something that you don't have to keep repeating over and over and over again. So Uber, Lyft, I'm talking to you guys. That's not passive income at all. That's not residual income at all. You have to repeat those drives over and over again to get paid. So in other words, if you drove someone to the airport yesterday, you're not going to get any money on that today unless you drive someone to the airport again, right?
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
You have to repeat the sale, basically.
Yeah. So we talked about before in another podcast. One of the businesses that I did from home was a photography business, and I'd already had a lot of the equipment anyhow. Let's face it, I didn't buy the equipment for the business. I actually bought the equipment for the kids to photograph the kids as they were
sports. Yeah.
So then I thought, well, I've got all this money invested in equipment. Why couldn't I just start taking some other photos? And I was approached then by another director
CBS
of photography.
Sports, yeah.
And so I started shooting professionally, got media credentials and whatnot. But the beauty of that is the pictures that it ended up being passive residual income because I've talked about it now. I stopped shooting. Gosh, what was it? More than
2011, 12, maybe 13. We had started our Euro business. And
it was more than 10 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe more like 12, 13 years ago. But anyways, in fact, I've sold some of the equipment, so I couldn't go back and do it. But the point is,
shut the door.
I still make money on that. I still get direct deposit from different sources, but one of them is through CBS, which is now Viacom. I don't know what it is. Anyways, but they still send me money because images are still being purchased or used in some fashion from photos that I took over a decade ago.
That's what I was going to clarify. Pictures that you took are still being sold, so you're getting a commission. I just want to make sure they fully understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of curious because sometimes I look to see, okay, which one was it, right? Because they send me a little statement showing me what sold and then what my cut is on that. And it's kind of cool because some of them go back to high school sports. And I think it's probably now dads and moms, right?
Yeah.
That they're saying, hey, kid, this is me back in the day.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Right? It's them.
It's them.
But now they're a mom or a dad.
They're talking to their kids and maybe mom says, your dad used to play football when he was in high school and he was the shizzle. He was good, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, really? And then they'll buy the picture or they'll show the picture online. They'll find it and show it. And then they see the option, they can buy it. So then they buy it, I think. That's some of it,
I bet that is happening because some kids are starting to have kids. So that makes sense.
And a lot of it's high school stuff. And I remember there's a lot of it. I shot a lot of championships here in California. There's CIF championships. And then I would always do a team photo. And then I put graphics on that team photo. I do one version without any graphics and always one version with graphics that had their school name in their school colors. I would go find their school colors and download those colors so that the graphics were all done with their school's spirit in mind, right? And it tells what they were, CIF, whatever champions, CIF Southern Division champions, or whatever it is on the bottom, and the year and whatnot. Those sell like crazy. Almost everybody on that team who's part of that team wants to buy it. And so for years, I just keep getting this residual money on it. That's a great thing. If you can find a business like that, go for it. The problem with photography is it's really expensive, again, too high upfront costs, and it's very time consuming.
Right. Yeah. The editing is the most. Yeah. So, hopefully we've given you some tips on multiple streams of income, some ideas on the fact that you honestly really want to have something be a residual income that's going to pay you years after you've done the work. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that. They don't even think about that.
Which the business that we've been talking about that we're now a part of and have been a part of for a while, again, over a decade.
Yeah.
It ticks. That's another box it ticks. We have passive residual income built into that too.
Yeah. Again, so yeah, it's pretty awesome. So reach out to us if you're curious about that. It's definitely something you can do alongside all the things you're already doing. If you're a coach, even coaches, John, there's so many business coaches, marriage coaches, all types of coaches out there. AI coaches, like we talked about at the beginning, and they can also have some residual income too. If they create an online course and promote that, work that they did, those courses they created can continue to pay them, right? So that's, something for you coaches out there too.
Yeah.
Think about that factor.
And for those that are considering coaches, I think we've said this before, be very choosy, be very picky on who you decide on as your coach.
Right.
Because we know so many coaches who basically live in a single wide. Right. They just, not that if you live in a single wide, I'm not meaning putting you down, but they pretend that they live in a mansion and they have all these luxury spoils, if you will, and they live like an extravagant lifestyle and all these great things. But then we know what goes on behind the scene, right?
Yeah, and you find out they don't.
Yeah, how many of them claim to be business coaches, yet all they've had were failed businesses?
Right. That's always shocking to me. And I find out time and time again, that's what's happened.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's almost like, don't they also say, and I'm not saying this for all psychiatrists and psychologists, but
oh boy,
those that are coach in that field, they've usually struggled with something so much themselves.
And it's not to say that if they've experienced something like that and they've overcome it, that they don't have something really great, something very valuable, right? They talk about that with a lot of ex-cons, right? They turn their lives around, and most of the time it's because they've gotten some religion, right? And I think they do have something of value. I think they do reach out to maybe people starting down the wrong path, especially young men going down the wrong path. I think some of these ex-cons that have turned their lives around, they do have great value. I think they do at times affect other people's lives and influence them in a good way.
Good.
Not always. I mean, look at that. Look at the one that was just recently arrested from Rolling 60s. Who has a nonprofit that's supposed to be helping the youth, and it turns out he was just embezzling a bunch of money, or at least that's what he's charged with. Sad. But you're going to have bad actors and everything, right? Even in the police department.
Be careful. Yeah.
There are bad actors even in the police department. So I mean, I'm not saying that we're all a bunch of angels, but be careful about who you choose to follow and really who you want to
take advice from.
Yeah, be your mentor. Right.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And if you need help with that, just again, also reach out to us on that.
Just on something on that just made me think about it. I remember there was a piece of advice someone had given us, and I don't remember who it was, where it was, but they always said that, take the person that you follow, whether it's at work, is your mentor at work, or with your relationships, or whatever it is, finances, whatever. Look at them, and how do you see them 10 years from now? Where were they 10 years ago? Have they changed? Are their lives better 10 years forward? And if the answer is not really, then why would you take their advice? I don't get it, right? Yeah. Or like if it's someone at work and that's your kind of your mentor, and do you really want to do what they do? I don't know.
I know. Yeah. It's a serious question.
It really made me think about, okay, who is it that I would want my life to be more like, or in whatever aspect of it that it is. And it made me really, really give a lot more thought to who I follow and whose advice I actually take.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Okay. And the last, number 7, overcoming fear of failure is one of the top 7, number 7, that entrepreneurs want to know about and learn about. And oh my goodness, that is a whole episode, I'm sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, the failure is going to happen.
It's the whole
little failures.
Yeah. Perfectionism has to be pushed aside, in my opinion. You've got to stop trying to be perfect because nobody is, right? And and you've got to learn that you're going to fail. And if you don't fail, there's actually something wrong because you're not going to learn anything if you're always winning. how are you going to learn how to tweak something, change something, get better at something if you're always winning? And I don't think the life is set up to always win. I was on a Zoom this morning and they said, you win sometimes and you fail, but they turn the fail into you learn. So you're winning or you're learning. So if you could just twist in your brain how you think of failure and think of it as a learning example, learning time, that's huge. That's a big mindset shift.
Yeah. And if you're going to set out and have your business and be an entrepreneur, you're going to have failures, right? You're going to have little failures here and there.
A lot in the beginning.
A lot, yeah. Get over it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just learn from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and especially if you made a mistake and it ends up being something that ends up being a failure or whatever, well, then just learn from it and don't make that mistake again.
Right.
And it always, I've said this before, it always reminds me of, I follow SpaceX because I just find it really fascinating and remarkable that we now have reusable rockets.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And think how much money that's saving all of us, because now they can launch satellites into low Earth orbit, and they can do it very inexpensively because they're reusing the rocket. It's not just being sent up and then just being destroyed or lost. These missions to the International Space Station, they're returning the rockets that actually launched the capsule up to the International Space Station, that Dragon rocket, that the Falcon 9 comes back to Earth and it lands all by itself.
It almost doesn't seem possible. We watched it together the other time and I'm like, how is this even humanly possible?
Well, that's what they always said. It was not possible. That's why all the Saturn rockets were just basically, they're out as space junk. They just continue out in outer space. Think about it, and this is what someone brought up, and it was really interesting. They said, how much does it cost to fly from LAX, from Los Angeles to New York on a 747 or any jet, a 737, whatever jet that you're flying on? However much it costs, right? $400 or $500. Could
First
you imagine?
Class 15.
Could you imagine how much that ticket would be if, when it landed at JFK, they had to destroy the airplane?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Nobody could afford. Almost nobody could afford to fly any longer, right?
You couldn't.
That's what we've been doing with our rockets, and now we have this Falcon 9 rocket that comes back to Earth, lands by itself. It looks like a pencil. These little legs come out, fold out just before it touches ground, and it lands vertically like a pencil sitting on its eraser. But the point I'm getting at with the failure part of it was, this has been in development for many, many years. And I remember Elon Musk was being interviewed. They were at one of the launches of this, or the tests of this Falcon 9, sent it up, and then they were bringing it back down. It was supposed to land on a barge, I think it was, out in the ocean. And the reason why they chose a barge was they knew it was going to crash. They didn't want it to land they wanted it out in the ocean because it would
soft landing kind of.
Well, no, so they wouldn't injure people.
Okay.
Like, what if it went astray and landed in someone's neighborhood,
gotcha.
right, and killed a bunch of people?
Gotcha.
So they had it on. They put a barge out in the ocean, and they said they're going to land on this barge, and it actually hit the barge.
Wow.
But it didn't land successfully. So it crashed and burned in this big fiery mess. And you guys can see there's videos of it. And I remember the interview that Elon Musk did, and they said that basically the reporter says, well, that was a big failure. And Elon's on, no, it wasn't. He said, we actually knew it was going to crash. He said, if it had landed and if it was a successful landing, we wouldn't have learned anything. He said, we knew it was going to crash. We know that. He said, next time it's going to crash again. He said, but we'll learn from that. And every time it crashes, we learn something new so that we'll get to the point where it won't crash. And now look at it. They land. I saw two of them. They landed in a tandem on the two pads. In fact, that was the last one, right? That you saw.
Right.
There's two landing pads, and they both come down and land almost simultaneously. One was just ahead of the other by a little bit, but it's fascinating. If you guys get a chance, well, look at that. And it's just amazing what we can do, but we can do it only because we had failures, and we learned from the failures. We didn't cry, or he didn't cry. All the engineers at SpaceX didn't mope and go home and whine about it.
They expected to fail. I think that's what's helpful.
Yeah. Or because they had failure, they didn't say, I give up.
Yeah.
I quit.
Right.
That's the ultimate failure. That's the only failure you're not going to learn anything from, other than you're just going to learn to be a quitter, right? And nobody should be a quitter like that.
Right.
Fight hard.
Right.
Fight
and
harder. Yeah.
There was something else you were telling me about Elon, that he spoke publicly about. Just everything that he's ever done is failed and failed and failed and failed over and over again until, success.
But if you think about it, he's had so many successes because I think he's always had that mindset of, hey, I know it's going to be there's going to be failures. I know there's things that I need to learn, and that's the only way I'm going to learn them is through the failure.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about, we have some patented ingredients from our Princeton University laboratory, Signum Biosciences, in our products. And one of them is SIG 1273. Well, the reason it's named SIG 1273 is it went through 1,272 iterations of that molecule, that ingredient, so it failed. An iteration is when they're working on it, doing it over again, because clearly it wasn't the outcome, didn't do what they wanted it to do. When it got to 1,273, then they succeeded. So even just like that is such a good example. There's another one, SIG 1459. It's crazy.
Those numbers just show how many times they had a non-working result that they didn't give up. They learned from it and then just moved forward.
And that's a Princeton University laboratory. So just examples. How about even President Lincoln? Lincoln talked, there's so much written about him, how many times he ran for office and failed.
I believe he failed every time except for when he ran to become president of the U.S.
And look what he did for our country and really changed the trajectory of our country.
Right.
Wow. And if he had given up after he failed.
Yeah. How many more years would we have slavery?
Yeah. It's super
that's
scary.
A huge accomplishment.
Super scary to think about. So, hopefully you're leaving this podcast knowing that, failure is part of it. Embrace it. It can hurt sometimes, but embrace it anyway. Kick the garbage can if you have to. You could be frustrated, but pick yourself up and do it again and do it again and do it again.
Yeah, it's not truly a failure until you quit.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And did you have anything more on that? I had a couple books that I was going to recommend on failure.
No, I don't have anything.
Yeah. So there is a great book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because a lot of people just are so fearful of failure. They don't attempt anything. If you don't attempt anything, you're going to just live a mediocre life your whole life. It's kind of what you were talking about in the beginning. And then I have another great book, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So I have plenty of other books if you want more on overcoming fear of failure and failure itself. Well, you're going to fail. So there is no book on not having failures because you're going to, but overcoming the fear of them, let me know. So yeah. And what were you going to say?
Nothing.
Did I cut you off?
No, not at all.
So we really hope these 7 trending topics hit a hot button with you. Maybe you were thinking about some of them. Hopefully that unlocked something for you in your entrepreneurial brain, and you're going to step out on faith and go for it. Have childlike faith and just go for it. Remember, we coach a lot on that childlike faith. Just if you do have a coach, just do what they say. Remember what you were like as a child, and your parents were helping you walk for the first time, for example. You fell a lot of times. That's definitely a failure, but you didn't just give up and not try to walk again. No, you kept walking. And just the same thing with just having childlike faith in whatever you do, you can accomplish it on your entrepreneurial journey, but it takes that drive and determination.
Yeah.
So
for show.
Yeah, for shizzle.
Yeah.
To say one of John's words. All right.
I don't actually say that.
Just for fun, you do sometimes. You're always just joking around.
I say for show.
Oh, I thought you said, who says shizzle then?
H-S-H-O. Show.
Okay. Well, if you love this episode, please share it with a friend.
Yeah, for show.
And we'll see you back on the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Dig the Well.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to take on new challenges.
Remember, if we can do it, so can you.
Keep learning, keep believing, and going after your dreams.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or maybe a nudge in the right direction.
Help us grow this community of go-getters. Together, we can achieve greatness and get back to family.
Thanks for listening, and let's keep digging the well.